In this video, we make a custom cocoa bolo pen with laser engraving. If you're looking to add a creative touch to the custom orders you receive in your side hustle, this video is for you. Hi, I'm Michael, and behind the camera is Ellie. We are the Bill Paying Hobbyists, and we're using our hobbies and skill sets to pay off our credit card debt and to save up towards a down payment on a house. If you're new here, do us a favor. Please hit the subscribe button. Join us on our journey. Hit the notification button so you'll be the first to know when our new videos come out. Nope, cash flow. That sounds bad. Side money. Pen turning is one of my favorite hobbies to bring in a little cash flow. Custom pen orders are a great way to ensure that the pen reflects the owner. Today's pen is going to be a little extra fun. I don't have a laser engraver, but my dad does, so I'm going to ask him for help. We're going to take you step by step and show you how we make this custom cocoa bolo pen. Please stick around to the end where we go over our numbers and show you how we're contributing towards our 2021 financial goals. Now it's time to use my special jig to cut this blank down to the right size. This is a Viceroy kit, and I'll be using a 27/64 drill bit so that I can put the correct size hole in the blank for my tube. Just a nice habit for myself, I always like to make sure my drill press is set so that it will go through the blank completely, and I turn it on before I drill to make sure my drill bit is straight and I don't get a wobbly hole. If you're curious about the clamp that I'm using to hold my blank, that's something that my dad designed. He also designed the jig that I use to cut my blank down to size. If you're interested, send me a comment. We'll see what we can do. It's time to glue my tube into my blank. I'm using JB Weld 5-minute epoxy. I let it dry for 24 hours. This has a mix time of about 30 seconds and about 5 minutes of working time. Be sure to read the instructions for the brand you prefer. I pre-sanded my tube. If your tube is smooth, just get some 120 grit sandpaper and rough it up a little. We just want something for the epoxy to adhere to. Be sure to cover the entire tube with epoxy. When you insert the tube into the blank, make sure to work it in and out to get complete coverage. Time for the lathe. On the right side of the lathe, the headstock, is my number 2 mortise pen mandrel. On the left, the tailstock is my mandrel saver. Most of the items I use in this video will be linked in the description if you're interested. I use an old bushing as a spacer, then the required bushing for this kit, my glued blank, the other bushing, and another spacer. Then slide the tailstock over so that the mandrel saver can do its job. Do not make this too tight. You will bend the shaft on your pen mandrel. You want it just tight enough that your blank continues to turn while you are cutting. Turn the lathe on at about 2700 RPM, and we are ready to go. I am using a round chisel with a homemade handle. Your tool rest should let the blade of your chisel rest as close to the center axis of your material as possible. I take slow, easy cuts. Remember to keep your arms tight to your body and sway back and forth in easy, steady motions. Now my blank is round and pretty close to the bushings. I'm going to remove the mandrel and the mandrel saver. On the tailstock, I will put my drill chuck with a special squaring jig. I put a transfer punch with a diameter as close to the inside diameter of my tube in the squaring jig. The headstock will get a sanding pad. Slide the tailstock over close to the sanding pad and put the lathe at about 1500 RPM. Nice even pressure on the sanding pad with your blank. I don't want to sand too much. Check the end of the blank until you see the end of the tube nice and shiny. Now I put everything back together so I can get the blank to the shape I want. I will give it a bit of a bevel, nothing too crazy. I also need to get the ends of the blank as close to the bushings as I can without cutting them. Remember, this is a carbide chisel, and it will cut those bushings. I have it pretty close now, so it's time to sand. The lathe is at about 1300 now. I am using 180 grit. Stay away from the bushings as much as possible. You don't want the metal shavings getting into your wood. After sanding at speed, I stop the lathe and sand with the grain to get as many cross grain lines out as possible. Wipe the dust off and on to 320 grit for a nice light sanding. The process for this pen is a little different this time. This pen will be engraved with the customer's name. After cleaning with the denatured alcohol, I am only using 2 coats of CA glue. Then I will dull it up and send it over to my dad. Thank you, Dad, for the assist. So, I forgot to ask good old Dad to videotape the engraving process. I did get a picture when it was finished. And here is the big surprise. Paw prints. Puppy prints, to be exact. She loves paw prints, and I thought it would be a great way to add that special touch for her. Here's the tricky part. I need to finish this with more CA to seal in the engraving. If there is any dust at all in the engraving, it will turn white. I will have to sand it all off and start all over. I have to be super fast when applying the CA too, or it could pull the charcoal from the engraving out. A delicate process with a huge learning curve. Be patient. I had to redo a blank from the set of the Chacon pens I made a while back. CA is all finished and no white specks. Time to dull it up with my Abernet, 180 grit to 400 grit. Take your time with these and use very light pressure. You don't want to sand through the CA and have to start all over again. Now we wet sand with micromesh. This stuff goes from 400 grit to 12,000 grit. When you see the water start to fly off your blank, you know that you're done with that particular pad. A little bit of glass polish, some Renaissance wax, all done. Now it's ready to assemble. We had some technical difficulties and we lost the last part of the video. I'm not going to leave you hanging though. I want to show you how to assemble the pen, and I'm going to use another order that I have for a different customer. So we have the blank. This would be the blank that was engraved. This one's just different. And we have this kit. It's a Mesa. This one is all black chrome. It's very similar to the Viceroy. This is our end cap with the clip already attached. Our transmission and spring. Don't ever lose your spring. Our ink cartridge, and our tip. I just need my end cap with the clip. I'll find a good place to install that piece. Put it together. We're going to go right there. Put it together. I use this piece of wood just to help keep from damaging anything. And then we give it a nice little squeeze. Not too tight. You don't want to crack your CA finish. That part is done. I'll move this out of my way. Put my transmission and my spring. A lot of times your ink cartridges will have a little wax tip on the end of it. That's just to protect the roller ball in it. This one does not. Put your spring on. Oh, I need my tip. Slide that into your tip. Take your transmission. Work it in, work it in. There's a groove in there. You gotta find it. There we go. Tighten that up. Nice and tight. That works. Good to go. Slide that on, and we have our pen. It's numbers time. The tools and supplies are at a 0 because we already had those on hand. After taking into account my time, the materials, and the engraving, our costs were at $40. We were able to sell that pen for $65. That gave us $25 to put towards our 2021 financial goals of paying off our credit card debt and to save up for a down payment on a house. Thanks for watching. Your comments are always welcome. If you like what we were doing, please subscribe, like, and share. Every click counts and is appreciated. So
now the dog is there too.
Come here, buddy. Yeah, was a good boy. He's a good shot dog. Who's a good shot dog? Oh, stinky breaths. Stinky breaths. Yeah. Oh, good boy. Yes. That's a good puppy. Yes. Whoa.